And we're 135 East Dixon Avenue in Dayton, Oakwood. Doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. Looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. Our access is a floor clean out here in the very rear of the house. The line goes out the back, and there's a stack about 20 feet inside the house that it has never been opened, and it is cast iron and been painted over a bunch, and so we're not going to even attempt to open that, just at risk of doing any kind of damage, since we have an obvious other access point that is easier. The good news is that line has never been opened up, so there hasn't been a reason to. And so the only thing from here is that this is a sweep, and so it will force me to go out towards the main, so we won't be able to inspect that 20 feet of pipe on the interior, but we will be inspecting the line from here out to the main. Most of the time, if we find any issues, it is on the exterior. I will note that this is cast iron on the inside. Cast iron is normal material for this age of house, but I just want to say that cast iron is something that you can't ever really tell the difference, or tell how much time is left, or how much life is left in a line, just because you can't tell how thick the pipe walls are. You're looking for functionality for the most part, and then once this exits, as you can see, it goes into clay, which is normal. We'd switch over to clay tile or vitreous clay, vitrified clay, once you get to the exterior of the house. Cast iron, I also want to mention, since we're here, that it is more likely to cause they call soft clogs, which is, if you're using too much toilet paper or wet wipes, it does have a tendency they can catch on the rough edges of the rust that's on the cast iron, and sometimes it can cause, like toilet paper backups and stuff like that. Under normal use, it shouldn't, but I just like to let people know that and try to prevent them from using any kind of wet wipes, because that is probably the largest issue with it, is the wet wipes. So, there will be fixtures tests. Like I said, the main stack is about 20 feet in, where the bathrooms come down, and then everything goes through this clean out before exiting. And so the clay is on the outside. It looks like 6-inch clay pipe. And so something I've noticed while I've been standing here is it seems like there is some water flowing, and it seems like that's due to this toilet here. It seems like it's running. It just means like that it's probably the parts. Sometimes it's a leaky flap or something on the interior of the tank, but I can hear it running, and that just would slowly allow water to go down the drain. It could be pretty expensive on a water bill over the course of a month. So I may end up flushing it and seeing if it changes that. Maybe it's a periodic thing, or maybe it was used recently. It's pretty normal to have something like this where you have stuff on the front of the camera as you're pushing out that kind of plow up in front of it, and so usually we can get out, and on the way back things are a lot clearer. I can see if there's any structural issues or anything going on, but it is kind of fuzzy. The picture is normally much clearer. But so far the line looks great structurally. Um, no major offsets. Not even something like this where I'm pushing in and there's a little bit of water that kind of goes over the top of the lens. That lens is only about a half an inch off the bottom of the pipe, and so this is very, very little water, not a concern. Looks like we're coming up onto the main here now, which we are. And there we are. So, a lot of times we can kind of let the bounce in and out of here with the camera and rinse it off on the water going by. Hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit better on the way back. Go. It still kind of hazes over like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flush the toilet here and see if that helps at all. Sometimes you just get a little bit of grease on there and then it doesn't do you, and even when you rinse it off it ends up coming back. It will take a minute for the water to get down to this point in the pipe. We're 50 feet out. There we go. But seemed to be on the way out. Everything looked really good structurally, especially for the age of the pipe. I believe the house was built in the late 20s, and so you're talking about roughly 100 years. The sewer line may not be that old, but it should be. There was that spot. If we let it drain down a little bit, you should be able to see the water drop. But you can see well enough, obviously. That is not an issue as far as that little bit of water, and we can see past it, so we know that there's not any structural issues in that area. Trying to keep the camera as clean as possible. You can still see the water going through the line. That's also showed the testing of functionality, which everything looks really good. Still see some flow going through here pretty well, so line looks really good. Normally the most common thing we see is root intrusion on clay lines, and I haven't seen any at all, which is really good. A lot of times over the years the connections, or I should say the packing around the connections, will break down a little bit and let roots in. But in this case, everything looks really, really good. It's like maybe you're running some hot water. You can see the steam sometimes as it builds up. The steam, they may have been running the dishwasher or something. back into the cast iron, which means we're very close to the, you can see we're very close to the clean out. And so based off of this area of cast iron, this looks really good. It looks wide open and it's holding shape, and due to the fact that the main clean out in the stack has never been opened, I mean, it looks like it's got about 30 layers of paint on it, and in those situations you don't want to mess with the cast iron stacks, because you don't want to damage anything by trying to open it up. If you needed to, obviously it would be something that you could clear the paint off, and probably you would have to chisel out that cap because of how long it's been in there. And so, like I mentioned, we don't want to do that when there's another access point. We don't want to risk any kind of damage to the pipe when it's never been opened. So, but as we come back out of the clean out here, you can see the restroom here, and this is the toilet I was talking about. I don't think it's running now, so it may just be maybe something when it's used that you pay attention to. Sometimes the flap and stuff that lets the water out and then seals, and then the water fills back the tank. Sometimes that can not seat right on a certain flush, or they're kind of loose, and so it may be something to listen for if you hear that hissing sound, because I think it is actually still moving a little bit, but not as bad as it was. But it may be something to where it's probably going to be on the home inspection part that you may want to just look at the inner workings. They make little rebuild kits that are fairly cheap, and just will stop that water from constantly running down the drain. But the line itself looked great. I didn't see anything of any concern. I really didn't see anything of note at all on the line. No root intrusion. All the connections look nice and tight. No low spots or bellies. It wasn't even enough to cover the lens, even with water flowing down it constantly. It was barely enough to cover the lens on a couple occasions. And so the line looked great. I don't have anything to note other than the usage notes that I made about the cast iron, having cast iron in the house, and making sure that you don't use any wet wipes. If you're going to throw them in the trash, even if they say flushable, they do not break down like toilet paper, so they can cause issues. It's a lot more prevalent in cast iron than it is in newer materials. But the line looked great. It's open, fully functional, and functioning as designed at time of inspection. So that will end the inspection at 135 East Dixon Avenue in Dayton or Oakwood, Ohio.